everybody, it's Richard again here from Electric Classic Cars, and this week's episode is all about the glorious VW camper. Now this is a camper we converted some time back, I think it's about 5 years ago, and what I want to do with this episode is show you what are the benefits of living with an electric camper versus a petrol one. So we're going to give it a little bit of a practical test. We're going to take it on a spin to a fairly local mountain bike sort of outdoor pursuits place with my wife and my daughter Jodie, and then once they do their exercise, I think it's called, I don't know, it's definitely not for me anyway, while I go and walk the dog and find somewhere for a bit of cake and coffee. After that we're going to go and set up for the night in the campsite, hopefully charge up overnight, more of that to come, and then set off in the morning with a full tank of electrons. So this episode's going to be all about this lovely electric Brazilian bus and why I think electric camper van life is better than petrol camper van life. So one thing that becomes immediately apparent when you drive an electric camper is that you're keeping up with modern traffic. Amazing! Even with this AC50 motor, which again it's a conversion we did 5 years ago, but they're pretty good motors for this type of vehicle. I mean, an AC50 motor gives you around about 70 horsepower, which is, you know, a fair bit more than the original air-cooled engine, but it's certainly not going to set any land speed records, that's for sure. But the 120 pound-foot of torque from 0 RPM, if you like, that's what really counts, and that's what you notice when you're going up hills, or even, dare I say it, overtaking. Wow, in a camper. But yeah, I mean, I'm cruising along here very easily at 55 miles an hour, and it's ever so easy to drive. And it's got gears because the AC50 motor is bolted to the original VW gearbox. But I find I've only kind of used second gear to get going. And once you're going, like 30 miles an hour, we're into third, and that'll probably do you. I mean, I'm cruising along there quite nicely now at 60, and third gear is about all you need. I'm probably moving into fourth gear maybe if I was on the motorway doing 70. Can't believe I said 70 miles an hour in a VW camper, but that's what you can do in this. And we're pretty fully loaded here as well, don't forget. We've got bikes on the back, all the camping stuff here as well. So yeah, I'm really impressed with how this car drives. It's fantastic. So this camper being what it is, a camper, there's certain things within it that needs 12 volts. So you've got things like a 12 volt fridge, you've got internal lights, etc. And to power those, you have what's called a leisure battery. So it's a second 12 volt battery that's not the 12 volt battery that usually runs the car, as in windscreen wipers, starter motor, etc, etc. And it's the same in this. We've got two 12 volt batteries, the leisure batteries and the main 12 volt batteries charged up, not off an alternator, if you like, off the engine, but obviously off the DC to DC converter. That's taken the high voltage of the main battery pack and converting it down to around about 13.6 volts to charge the 12 volt batteries up. But the other thing we're doing now in most of the camper conversions is we're also swapping out the gas cooking hobs to electric induction hobs, and the reason why we're doing that is because we can then get a more powerful DC to DC converter or a DC to AC converter that takes the high voltage of the main pack to 240 volts AC to power the induction hob, and that's something you can't do with a petrol engine, because essentially those induction hobs take around about 2.4 kilowatts, and a 12 volt battery and a leisure battery, if you like, can't really support that amount of energy. So now it's all electric in these campers. Right, I'll show you another good thing about electric campers, and that is charging up while you're doing other things. This is something you can't do when you've got a petrol camper. So we've stopped off at this mountain bike centre, which has some charge points, and like a lot of these sort of places, it's free charging. So you just plug it in there, plug it in there, and while the girls are going mountain biking, I'm off to get some cake. Right, we've arrived at our destination. Beautiful mid Wales sort of campsite. It's the stressful part is over, and we've set up. I think it's about time we actually told you a bit about the camper and why I think electric camping is so fantastic. So, follow me. Right, first of all, let's just give you a little bit of history of this bus. So this bus I converted around about 5 years ago. So it was before we had the unit. It was just me and Pete built this one back in my old little tiny workshop. In fact, I think it was even built at my home workshop. Not seen it for years, and it's great to have this old friend back. Customer had a problem with the encoder on the motor, so we just sorted it out for him, and he's coming to pick it up next week. So before he picks it up, we got to test that it's working, and he uses this a lot, especially for long camping trips in Scotland where he lives. So let's give you a little bit of a run through of this. It's a Brazilian bus. They still made the Brazilian VW campers way past when they were still available in Germany and Europe. And we converted this with a HPEV's AC50 motor, if I remember rightly, in the rear. 50 kilowatt hour battery. So there's a battery pack kind of there going that way. There's a small battery pack underneath the seat here, but most of it is in the engine bay. So it's a kind of decent weight distribution. 50 kilowatt hours. I spoke to the customer, Alistair, recently and asked him what sort of range he's been getting, because he's had it for a few years now, he should know. And he reckons a good solid 125 mile range is what he's getting. And I think with current technology that we have in the buses that we do, you can get around about 200, maybe even 250 mile range now. In my 1969 VW bus, I've got a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, and it gives me a good solid 200 mile range. If I took it easy, probably around about 225, if not a little bit more. A four-wheel drive camper that we're doing at the moment will be a little bit less because the parasitic load of the drivetrain, but I reckon most campers we can do now are probably hitting around about 200 kilowatt hours of battery, 200 mile range, let's say. So that's the spec on this. It's got one thing I really want to show you is why I love the electric camping lifestyle. I'll show you now. Let me get the charge cable out. So when you go out for your drive, and bear in mind, 125 mile, or let's say 100 mile journey can be a couple of hours in a camper. And unlike most campers that I remember from my youth, the air-cooled ones, they don't have a couple of miles of tailback behind them, because electric motors, you can keep up with modern traffic, and that's a massive benefit, quite frankly. But what I love about it is when you get to your destination, like here, you can hook up the electrics, as you'd probably do with most of the time with a camper, but while you sleep, the bus is charging up. The magic electric pixies fill up your tank overnight. So, and I'll show you how simple it is. So if I just plug this in here, and switch that on. Ta-da! That's how simple it is. So now we've got the juice going into the bus, and it's charging up the battery, and essentially you hook it up, and in the morning you've got a full tank. old man noises. There we go. Oh, God. Not as comfortable a bed as my bed at home, that's for sure. And note to self, don't take a dog that snores camping with you. God, he was really noisy. We love you, Spud. So there we go. I think we got a full charge. Have we got a full charge? Yes, happy days. Full charge. So we're good to go. I hope you enjoyed this video and showed you some of the benefits and virtues of electric camping. I think it's, you know, vastly improved the camping experience by having it electric now. I mean, you can keep up with modern traffic. You haven't got that mile or so like tailback behind you when you're driving along. A lot more reliable, maintenance free, and the fact that when you wake up in the morning, you've got a full tank. Happy days. So there we go. I think it's time to just get everything loaded on now and head off home. So what do you think of this electric camper? Do you think it's a good idea? And be interested to see in the comments below, what other vehicles do you think would make a really good electric camper? So hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.